Hello， 我係嘉蘭。今日咧，我又請咗我另一位朋友，佢叫做 Alex， 係一位 mortgage advisor， 即係貸款顧問。當大家去買屋嘅時候咧，佢就會幫你去揾一啲 lender 借錢嘅，去攞 mortgage。咁咧，其實佢今日咧就會同大家分享下佢呢一行啦係點樣入行嘅咧，工作係點樣嘅咧。另外佢仲會分享當香港人攞住 BNO Visa 嚟英國居住嘅時候，可唔可以攞到 mortgage 咧？佢仲會同大家分享下點樣嚟英國之前就借到 mortgage 喺英國呢度投資物業咧。So Alex, could you firstly just briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Alex. I'm a mortgage broker based in Bristol. Family man, wife and 2 children. Lived in Bristol most of my life. Spent a year in London, a year in Dublin. I've worked in financial services for about 22 years now.
Wow. So Alex, how did you first get into this industry?
Well, Bristol's really big for financial services. There's lots and lots of big companies here. And as a school leaver, I went to university in Bristol and did a degree in maths and economics, which linked to financial services.
So typically, what's the progression of getting to this to become a mortgage advisor then?
Okay, so usually you start off at the bottom, and that normally means a sort of an admin type role where you work with mortgage brokers, you learn what they do. From there, you sort of evolve. You'll do qualifications, and you'll learn the sort of skills involved with advising as opposed to being sat behind a desk. So understanding what it's like to work with clients, what their needs are. It's learning those skills that you think are natural, but they're not natural in the environment. I remember my first role play as a mortgage broker. Yeah. And I think the person assessing me picked up that I said the word fantastic something like 20 times in a 3-minute role play. When I asked the client, where did your savings come from? And the client in the role play said to me, oh, my mother just passed away, so it's inheritance. And I went, oh, fantastic. Well, I can help you with this.
Oh, dear.
So it is learning the skills. I've improved since then.
Brilliant. And how do people qualify to become like a professional mortgage advisor then?
Well, initially you have to have the qualifications, and the qualifications consist of 3 exams. And on average, it takes probably say about 6 months to pass or to study and pass the exams. And then once you've got the qualifications, you have to be signed off as competent. And that's where you are assessed, you're observed, giving advice, and the case is looked at. And once you've normally done 10 or so of these, a compliance officer would sign you off to say you're good to go. You can be trusted to do it on your own.
Okay. And where are the schools, like college or uni?
Yeah, it's often through special training centres we'll do it.
Oh, okay.
So you wouldn't go to school or university or anything for it. You'd maybe do it distance learning or through an organisation that will take in a trainee.
Is it daytime or evenings?
The study?
Yeah.
Often it can be in your own time. So you sort of do it on your evenings or weekends. Or some places will almost do like an intensive training program. So you'll come in, sit in a classroom for a few weeks, learn everything, and then sit the exam at the end of that 2 or 3 weeks. Often people go into the job first as, like, say, in a sort of trainee or an admin type role, and then you'll do the qualifications paid for by the employer.
So what's the nature of the job?
In simple terms, I'd say it's problem solving. Every person's circumstances are different.
Yes.
And every bank, building society, financial institution has completely different underwriting criteria, I should say.
Right.
So whilst one might accept an application from someone, another bank would turn it down. So the role, in simple terms, is to think of each person as coming to you with a problem to solve, and you're starting with a funnel of 100 banks, building societies or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're trying to sort of get this funnel down to the one that's the best one for them.
Okay. What do you like the most about this job, and what's the most challenging part of this job?
So what I like most, I love problem solving, so it's the perfect job.
Okay.
I love working with people.
Yeah.
So I love the client relationship side of things. The hardest side, I think, or the bit I struggle with the most, you're not entirely in control because you're trying to find a lender, but I can't make a lender say yes or no to an application. I've just got to find what I think is the lender that will say yes to the application.
Right.
And so it's that element of not being in control when you go,
really
because
want to help.
I really want to help someone buy their dream home, and it's not 100% in my control as to what happens.
I can understand that. Like children, not in our control.
Absolutely.
So how much does a typical mortgage advisor earn?
It depends how you're employed, first of all. So you've got employed mortgage advisors and then you've got self-employed.
Right.
Now, those who are employed will have a basic salary probably in the region of about £20,000 to £25,000. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, they will earn commission. from the income they bring in. And on average, I'd guess that would probably take an average mortgage broker up to about 40,000. So 20 to 25 salary and then the rest in commission.
Commission based. Yeah.
Then you also have self-employed. Now these could be self-employed working for a company. They will probably earn more. I would probably say maybe 50 to 60,000. And like I say, they've got the flexibility of being self-employed.
Yeah.
The downside is there's no salary, so on the start of every month there's not necessarily any income.
Yeah.
Initially, and then I guess the extension from being self-employed is people like myself who are business owners. So, like I say, they're not self-employed under a company, but they're their own company, and the potential then is greater.
So usually if I go to let's say a big company, how much would it cost for me to use their service, and maybe your company as well? You can share a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So mortgage brokers, that how much they charge does vary quite a bit between firms. You do have some large brokers, right, who are primarily online based, so you deal with them just over the telephone, right, email, etc., not face to face. And some of these large ones, they don't charge a fee. Oh. They get paid a commission by the lender, but they don't charge. With those ones, they work very much on a volume basis. To make their money, they have to write a lot of mortgages. Yeah. And so the flip side for that is they can be, the cost can be lower, but you don't get as much care and attention because, they've got to write volume.
That's true.
To make their money. So like I say, so you don't always get a great relationship with them.
Okay.
Then you've got, like I say, on the other side, you've got the people like myself, the smaller firms. We will charge a fee because we're not based on volume, we're based on care, attention, personal relationships, long-term relationships. Fees can vary quite a bit. Could be into the thousands of pounds, but that could. It's all relative to how complex the case is. How many hours are going to be spent working on the case, getting the mortgage. Yeah. It could be 20 hours or more to get a mortgage. So, we all need to put food and whatnot on the table. But I'd say an average for a broker of my sort of size is probably about £500 would be an average.
Okay, cool. So Alex, I probably have shared a little bit about the Hong Kong situation right now. Many people in Hong Kong are thinking about moving to the UK with a BNO visa, which would last 5 years normally. So they will be on a visa for 5 years. During that 5 years, will they be able to get any mortgage?
Potentially. So again, every lender has their own underwriting criteria. So they will be looking at how long you have remaining on the visa. Yeah. Whether it meets their requirements. They'll be factoring in your things like your address history, your credit score, your income. What you're doing work wise.
Okay.
So potentially, but there's like saying earlier with the problem solving, it's going to be looking at each lender and trying to find the one that fits.
Right. Would you say the longer the visa is easier or more difficult?
Definitely. So the longer it is, the easier it is. The lender is looking at you as a risk. So when they give you money to buy a house, they want to know, are we going to get our money back? If you've only got a couple of months remaining on a visa, chances are you're going to be
Gone.
and not making a repayment. So for them, that's risk, high risk.
Okay.
If you're going to be in the UK for a long period of time, and you're working, you've got an income, you're going to be deemed lower risk.
Typically, what's the interest rate right now?
There's various factors to be considered. So one is they talk about loan to value, and that's the percentage of the mortgage balance compared to the total property price. So if the property was worth £200,000, the mortgage was £100,000,
Right.
you'd have a 50% loan to value. Now, the lower the loan to value, the better the interest rate the lender will give you.
Okay.
Because again, it's all about risk and profitability. So for a typical UK resident with a low loan to value, you could get rates well below 2%. Yeah, and so if we're looking at a rate under 2%, loan to value would be low. Probably under sort of 60% loan to value on something like that. But that's not to say you can't get it with high rates. It's all going to be...
Okay, and for those who will be on visa, and then if they are possible to get the mortgage, would the rate be a little bit higher?
Yeah, again, loan to value, it depends how much deposit they're able to put into the property.
Yeah.
But rates may be a little bit higher.
Because there's risk taking.
Again, it's that risk reward they're looking at.
If Hong Kong people are interested in investing property even before they come to the UK, let's say, to generate income, is there a possible way?
Yeah. So there's a type of mortgage called a buy-to-let mortgage. I'll start off by a typical buy-to-let. So if I was looking to buy a second property to rent out and make an income, that would be a buy-to-let. You normally need to, first of all, have your own home.
Yes.
So it can't be your first home usually. Usually, I should say. Then they look for an income of about £25,000 per year for me to be earning.
Right.
They want a deposit of 25%. So if the property was £200,000, they'd want a £50,000 deposit. And then the final thing they tend to look at is the rental income in relation to the mortgage repayment. And they normally want it to be, I'll say 1.5 times. It's not as much as that, but in simple terms. So if the mortgage was £500 a month, they want the rental income to be £750 typically.
That's not too high.
No, so as long as you meet all those criteria,
Yeah.
then in theory you'd be accepted for the mortgage. Now, in answer to your question, if you're based overseas,
Yeah.
if you're coming over, you're not going to have your own residential mortgage, which means it's going to be harder then to get the buy-to-let mortgage
Yes.
as the second mortgage. However, not very common, but there are options for overseas investors who want to invest in the UK and want to take out a buy-to-let mortgage whilst based overseas. Works the same as a buy-to-let mortgage. Criteria will be different, but it means you can build up an income source and address history and everything before you move into the UK.
Yes.
So that when you come over, you've already got a UK income,
A passive income in the UK.
and an address in the UK.
That would make many things much easier,
Yeah,
actually.
absolutely.
Like finding school, not even talk about money, just finding schools,
Yeah.
even renting for yourself.
Yeah, but the interesting thing with it is, like I say, you have to take it out whilst you're based overseas.
So they should do it before they enter to UK, and then, but the mortgage will stays the same even after they come over, right?
Yeah, and then if you move to the UK, let's say the mortgage is a 2-year fixed period, so the repayments are fixed for 2 years. At the end of that 2-year period, you'd look to remortgage, and then you would just move to a typical buy-to-let mortgage then, which might have better rates, etc.
This is definitely a really exciting news, I think. 咁頭先咧，其實 Alex 佢就話咧，你喺香港未嚟英國之前咧，就可以做一樣嘢，類似係海外投資一個 buy to let。咁簡單嚟講咧，就你只要有25% 嘅 deposit 咧，你就可以做到呢個投資啦。咁就有機會咧，有一啲 lender 佢係願意去借個75% 俾你去買呢個property 嘅。不過普遍嚟講咧，嗰個 interest rate 咧就會高啲。所以如果咧大家有乜嘢貸款上 mortgage 上嘅問題咧，需要解決 ，this is the person you talk to。呢個我朋友咧，你哋可以問下佢嘅意見啦。So Alex, you can kind of promote yourself a little bit.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, any questions, any help you want, absolutely anything mortgage related, feel free to get in contact. I'll be happy to answer any questions and provide any guidance or advice. More than happy to help.
Yeah, Alex, I think you get a lot of phone calls and emails, a lot of problems for you to solve now.
Brilliant. Love problem solving.
Okay, thank you so much, Alex, again.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, everyone. 跟住我哋睇翻咧，其實 mortgage advisor 呢一行業咯，佢嘅人工啦，如果啱啱開始可能係大概22K 啦，去到你好 experienced 咧，咁就可能係70K 一年咁英鎊左右嘅。如果想知道點樣入行做 mortgage advisor 咧，可以睇翻呢個政府嘅網址啦。佢下邊其實都有講最主要3個途徑啦，點樣入行啦。咁有興趣嘅啦，可以自己去睇翻。呢一個咧係喺嗰個 government website 裏邊咧，其中一個佢提供嘅一條 link 啦，就係一個學校，佢就提供一啲 course 可以讀嘅。咁你睇到個價錢啊，其實係555磅啦，咁就會有一張 complete 嘅 qualification 噶啦。跟住咧，大概嘅時間可能係用12個月到啦。而呢一個咧就係我另外就咁一 search Google 嘅時候啦，出現咗嘅一個學校。咁佢嘅 course 又係啦，450磅，咁分3個 courses 啦，都係 online 嘅，大概用嘅時間咧都係12個月左右。咁其實大家可以明白咧，呢一個行業咧，即係你唔需要讀大學啦，咁就讀呢啲 course 可以就直接入行啦，同埋可以當然做一啲助手開始啦。咁不過當然英文程度啦要唔差啦，因為你都要同一啲 lender 去溝通，或者你同你嘅 clients 佢哋如果係都係英國人啦，或者講英文嘅，係啦，咁你嘅英文水平要唔差啦。但係咧呢一個行業咧，佢嘅即係如果你做得夠好嘅話咧，其實咧你之後一路做上去個人工咧就會係唔錯嘅。今日咧真係好多謝 Alex 嚟同我哋做呢個訪問，帶咗一啲好特別嘅信息俾大家。如果你未 subscribe 我哋嘅 channel， 可以訂閱我嘅 channel。我哋每逢星期2、4會有資訊性嘅 video。另外，如果你未 follow 我嘅 Instagram， 可以 follow KaynanK_UK。我哋下次再見啦，拜拜。